Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Simply Done Concierge. Again, folks, we talk a lot about can you be in two places at once? Well, with the Simply Done Concierge team, you can be. While you're out working or running the errands you need to run, Simply Done Concierge team can run other errands for you. They can do meal prep, they can walk your dog, all kinds of things to extend your productivity in each day. So go to simplydoneconcierge.com, fill out the form what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week on Triangle BNI, but we bring you a local small business success story. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the surrounding towns. Each week, 33 chapters now. We launched one last week in Franklinton. So we're up to 33 chapters now. About 570 members get together. Our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our local small business success story today is Josh Apple with Morgan and Perry Law. He is an estate planning attorney, and a business attorney there. He is a member of Cary Connections Group that meets Monday mornings at 8:30 at Hope Community Church on Buck Jones Road, where Josh is a visitor host. Josh, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. How's it going?
Doing well. Glad to have you here today. Visitor host, that means you're chipper in the morning, you're friendly, and you help people up the stairs where we have no idea where they're
Ab-
going, right?
Absolutely. Get them to where they need to be, introduce them to a few people that they might need to know. And yeah,
And that's what I
important.
like about the visitor host role is you truly get to meet everybody coming to your meeting every week. And
Absolutely. I love that aspect too. I kind of got voluntold to do it, but
mhm.
I enjoy it for sure. And we have a good group of visitor hosts. So I look forward to Monday mornings, just catching up with those guys.
Yeah, so if you're in the Cary area and you are not afraid of Monday morning work and meetings, come on out. I know you'll have a good time. All right, Josh, estate planning.
Mhm.
Um, Makes sense. We know we need it. Most of us don't have it. But what are some of the bad assumptions we make about what's going to happen to our stuff if we don't have it in order?
Sure. I mean, I think the tendency is people just don't want to think about it. In fact, I had somebody come to my office and finally sit down to do it. And they said, well, I was just hesitant to come in here because I feel like once I get it done, something's going to happen to me. I planned for it and now it's going to happen. I'm like, well, if it's going to happen, you better come see me first so and make sure it goes where it needs to be because the government does as good of a job as they can to try to figure out where your assets should go. But I mean, that's an inherent problem there because everybody's assets and everybody's ideas are different. And no two estate plans are the same. So it's kind of hard to encompass all of that, right? So it's very important for you to make sure your assets are going where you intend them to go because you've worked hard for those. I'm sure you want to leave them to who you want to have them left to. And it's a lot more than that too. I mean, you get into kids and guardianships and all sorts of things. So you don't want the government dictating those choices for you, which is what happens, and people don't realize it. Or they just don't want to think about it. But it is a very important area of law, and that's why I kind of gravitated towards it.
And I've learned a number of things in my years in BNI. One of them is the fear of talking about life insurance and estate planning. We're thinking about us dying, which
Right.
we got to be prepared for because we know it's going to happen. But really, it's to protect the people that are living after we pass. And sometimes it's hard to get past that, isn't it?
For sure. And I think everybody agrees, like, I want the people that I leave behind to be well taken care of. And you care about that inherently. And so you need to be able to decide where those things go. And it's not all, hey, when you die, let's plan for this. There's a lot that we can do while you're still living to help protect your assets and protect you and put you in a better situation. Even if you're just sick or in an accident, just to try to help you plan for those unfortunate circumstances.
Because we know the things we have, whether it's a business or a house or kids, we know where they should go. But the
Right.
government has templates and policies that I'm just case number whatever to them. I'm not Mike with no kids but a house. and everybody knows my brother and I are you were like twins, we're so close, it's gonna go to him. It just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And I think a lot of people that come to see us, they're really surprised when we start digging down to, okay, if you would have passed away before we get this done, like this is what's going to happen based on the guidelines. And, a lot of times it's, you might think, hey, I have a spouse and some kids. And so everything is going to go to my spouse to take care of our kids. But no, some of it's going to be put away for the kids. If they're underage, they're not going to be able to access that. Some people think, okay, I don't have any kids, everything's just going to go to my spouse, but that's not the case either. If you have living parents, they're going to inherit part of that too, depending on the size of your estate. So it's a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of stuff that people are really surprised to find out.
Is there a basic I don't wanna say a basic form, I know there and you feel free to pile on this if you want. I've heard from other lawyers that these certain websites that advertise on television, they don't they I mean, they have their purpose, but
Right.
it's not personal, so you don't
Yeah.
really get to know things, but are there just some basics we should have if let's just start with, say, a 25-year-old not even married yet. What are some things we should be thinking about then?
Yeah, I mean, I think most state attorneys agree, and you can't get attorneys to agree on anything, from my experience. But for the most part, uh, it's generally accepted that no matter your age, no matter your asset level, to fully protect yourself, you can really benefit from three main documents: financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, and a last will and testament. The first two, help govern stuff while you're still alive. Maybe you're incapacitated, and somebody can look after your financial affairs or help you on the medical side of things, and that's where you get into advanced medical directives and stuff like that for end of life situation that you can go ahead and kind of dictate what happens in that situation. And then you got the last will and testament, which what happens to your assets once you do pass away. But all of those situations can help you get out of a jam that you're in. What if you're in an accident, in a car today? Who's gonna pay your mortgage? Who's gonna take care of your financial affairs? And that's something that you can go ahead and have set up, so you're able to get out of a bad situation and have everything continue. So once you do recover, you're not, 20 bills behind on different things.
And I've been intrigued more and more I hear about the health power of attorney, because if you think about it, if there's nothing written, is it correct saying that somebody at the hospital will have to make a decision of, not say be grim, but do we pull the plug or not, if there's no paperwork saying this person should be making that decision?
Yeah, for the most part. So you can give your healthcare power of attorney the right to decide, when to pull the plug or not. You can go ahead and say, I do want life prolonging measures given to me, or I don't, I want them withheld. And this is like true end of life situation. So doctors always going to take care of you as long as they can, right? And then once you've been stabilized, and once a doctor says in his professional medical opinion, this guy has 0% chance of making a recovery, well, then, that's when your advanced medical directive would kick in, and you might say, I don't want to be in a vegetable state forever. And what some people don't realize was some people come to us and say, well, yeah, I want to have life prolonging measures given to me for a couple of weeks or a
Yeah.
month or something like that. But if you pick, yes, I want to have life prolonging measures given to me, that's going to be indefinite. So the way to get around that is to have your healthcare power of attorney decide for you. And then you can say, hey, look, keep me alive for a little while. If I'm not improving, go ahead and pull the plug. And then other people say, well, yeah, that's a hefty burden on that person. Everybody's different. Obviously, we can't make that decision for you. It's a personal choice, and we try to help advise on some things to think about and take into consideration in those circumstances.
And then on the estate planning and other things you do with regard to businesses, if
Mhm.
you have a partnership, right? You and I are
Right.
a partnership, and while we get along and our wives get along and one of us passes,
Right.
does the other one's spouse really wanna be in business with the other person?
Exactly. And does that other person want to be in business with that person's spouse, that may have no knowledge of that particular business, how things run? So what we kind of do at Morgan and Perry is we have, like you mentioned before, we do estate planning and business planning, and there's a lot of intersection there for sure. But getting towards what you spoke of, like, it's important to have anytime you have a partner in a business, you need to have a succession plan, and that's usually accomplished through an operating agreement, partnership agreement, shareholders agreement, whatever the case may be for that business. You need to be thinking about succession plan. So much about what we do as attorneys, is just try to figure out what are the problem spots moving forward. How can we help prevent you from liability, from finding yourself in a bad situation? And that applies in business, estate planning. Like, how can we proper plan for you so if things go awry, you have something to fall back on. So that's so much about what my day to day is about, is trying to help people plan for unfortunate circumstances.
And then also, if you are an owner operator of a small business, let's say you're in one of the home services industries, you're a landscaper or painter, and you don't have a business partner, it's just you. And let's say you get laid up for 4 months, or you get
Right.
injured, or you're incapacitated for a while. And if there's nothing in writing, I mean, that business in theory could possibly go under because nobody knows
For
what to
sure.
do.
Absolutely. There's so much that goes into the planning that stuff. And I mean, we can talk for days about some of the stuff that businesses really need, but like for instance, you were just talking about home services provider. They need to make sure they have a pretty good client agreement as well. You're going into somebody's home, or you're taking care of their outside, or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure you protect yourself and the client from things that could go wrong, and you don't want to put your entire investment of your time and money into this business in the hands of, if something goes wrong, this business could be taken away. So, that you need to have some protections, and that's something that we can help, businesses with. And that gets back to why I love doing what I do is, everything that I do, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the sports agency stuff too down the line. But everything I do is to help people. How can we help you plan for your estate? How can we help your business that you put a lot of sweat equity into a lot of times? How can we help protect that asset for you? Pretty much everything that we do, we is with that in mind.
And for you sports fans, hang on for a few minutes. We'll get to that because Josh is a licensed NFL agent. But before we get to that, can I assume, while a noble profession, we don't need you till we need you, and then when we need you, we really need you. Usually,
Right.
do most 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 year olds grow up to want to be a lawyer? Is that kind of your thought all the way, or do you just kind of end up
Well,
there?
it wasn't the case in my situation. I never it wasn't even on my radar, because I knew I didn't want to be in a courtroom all the time, and that's kind of the default thing that you think about with an attorney. But there's so many things. So I went to UNC for undergrad, and then after that, I went and got my MBA from Elon. And it was in business school I saw all the doors and different things that you could accomplish with a law degree. Kind of wish I'd have seen that right before I went to MBA school, because I could have shaved a year off of my education. But I went ahead and did the full MBA and then the full JD as well at Wake Forest. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. For somebody who didn't think, that they, would ultimately end up in law school. In fact, in high school, I wanted to be like a sports medicine doctor or something like that, because I do have a love for sports and everything like that. And again, I think it gets back to helping people as well. But at the time, I was like, I'm not going to go to school for that long. I ended up probably going to school for that long anyway. So it's funny how things work out.
Yeah. So if you didn't go, and you're from Reedsville, right?
I am
Okay.
reasonable. Yep.
We'll get to you and I have a tie to Reedsville. I don't know if I ever shared it with you, but we'll get to that in a second.
All right.
If you didn't go to Carolina, where would you have gone to school?
There really was no other choice for me. I don't think it's kind of been ingrained to me since I was a little kid. My grandfather went to Carolina way back in the day. My mom went to Carolina. We were raised up to always watch Tar Heels. I went to Carolina football, basketball games, so I didn't have much choice in the matter. In fact, it's the only school I applied to. I did early
Wow.
application and got in. So I was like, I'm not filling out all these applications, because I knew where I wanted to go. I did play basketball in high school, and I played football as well. But I played a lot of basketball, and you know, kicked around the idea of maybe going somewhere smaller to try to play as well, but kind of hung up those hoop dreams and went on to Carolina.
Yeah, the only pressure for you was getting the good enough grades to get into Carolina because it's
Right.
not really easy to get in there, is it?
It's not, and, it's probably a good thing I came up when I did, because I don't know if I could get in today.
I
It's
know.
it's only gotten more and more competitive, especially for in-state people.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because back then, yeah, because I got into Tennessee in 1979, it was a whole lot easier back then.
Right,
I don't know if my high school stuff would get me in today, and we're just a little old SEC school, so
right.
yeah, so our tie to Reidsville is my dad this is when I was in college, so this was early '80s, owned, Monroe Golf Club
Oh, sweet.
for
I
a
played
while.
there,
Yep,
played some bad golf out there for
yep,
sure.
I did too. I liked it in the summertime because if you got it on the right line, the ball will roll in the fairway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll roll for a while, but yeah, if you get wild with it, you're 2, 3 fairways over, so,
Yeah,
um
that's not far from where my family is actually from. My grandfather and he had, it was 8 boys. They all, grew up not too far from there. My great-grandfather had a grocery business, and so I passed Monroe a lot going to see family out that way.
and that grocery business still up and running, right?
It's not well, so there's a farm supply store. So
Okay.
my grandfather and a couple of his brothers had took over the business from their dad. It was called Big Apple Grocery, and there was a warehouse, and then there was a farm supply store. And so the farm supply store, some of my cousins still run that. It's called Big Apple Farm Supply. There's kind of like a all things for farms and outdoor stuff, tools and stuff like that. And we had a wholesale warehouse that we kind of took over. It used to be a tobacco warehouse, and my dad had run that, just a storage warehouse. In fact, my parents had kind of waited a little later. They were married for maybe 8 years before they had me. And they were waiting until the grocery business was going pretty well. And my mom got pregnant, and then while she was pregnant, my grandfather and his brothers sold out of the grocery business, but they kind of had a plan. So, but kind of funny how that stuff works.
So your first, paid or unpaid junior high job was at one of those stores?
Oh my gosh, it was in that warehouse in 100-degree heat and in the summer. I hated it. Just driving a forklift around and just sweeping the floors, any type of little task my dad could give me. But it taught you the value of hard work, and I knew that I did not want to be working in that warehouse when I grew up.
Mhm.
So it motivates you a little bit to try a little harder at school, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes when people go on fact-finding missions about what I want to do for a living, sometimes it's really good to eliminate the things you don't wanna do.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. I'm a firm believer in that.
My brother hopped around universities for a little while, ended up at ECU, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, and he's 20, 21 years old, and he's working at, Pantana Bob's. And, as a bartender, and one day it just hit him, it's like, "Yeah, this is not what I wanna do anymore." Went on to, finish his, undergrad, he's, got a master's degree, certified financial planner, but sometimes you gotta wait and figure out, "Okay, this is not what I want."
Oh, for sure. Same thing happened to me even when I started my legal career. I planned on getting into commercial real estate, and I was going that route. Had a job lined up and everything with a firm in Raleigh. But I graduated law school in 2008, and that's when kind of everything kind of crashed, especially in that area. So I went to work for a big law firm doing other stuff, corporate type law and stuff like that. Eventually, I went to a smaller law firm to do what I had originally anticipated being business valuation because of my MBA and business background and stuff like that. However, when I showed up, they do a lot of divorces and child custody cases, family law stuff. And somebody had just left a couple of days before I got there from the child custody side of things. And so, first day I show up, I'm in the courtroom doing child custody hearings. And that's not really what had signed up for, and definitely not an area of law that I had anticipated practicing. But you kind of put your head down and do it. And I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So, getting back to your point, like you kind of sometimes you got to figure out what it is you definitely don't want to do to kind of get to where you want to be.
Now you can answer the following questions with, Mike, I don't remember,
Yeah.
but how old were you the first time you drove a forklift?
Oh my gosh. I was young, so young that I ran into a pole or two in my time. We had stored some flour up there, and one of my best friends and I were coming around. Wait, we used to try to like race them
Yeah,
when my dad and
naturally.
people were working. And when my buddy kind of came around the corner too tight and ripped open a bag of flour, man, we had a mess. We ended up having to clean that one up. But I actually got my head stuck. This may be what's wrong with me today. I got my head stuck between the pole and the forklift one time, and I had a headache for days. So
Uh,
definitely, I'm not a professional forklift driver, but I've driven around for a while.
yeah, it's funny, typical guy stuff. Well, at the time, Dad, it was a good idea. So,
Yeah, yeah,
all right, so you are a licensed NFL agent.
I am.
So that combines your loves of law and sports, but getting to know you a little bit through Carry Connections. I've also learned that because you focus on later round draft choices, you really like to help these kids who probably aren't going to make the millions and millions of dollars that we see in the newspapers every day with NFL contracts.
Well, I want to first of all say I'm not opposed to getting one of those top picks. I'll happily represent them. But the way the business kind of goes is you have some really large agencies that have a lot of overhead, and they'll throw a lot of money, marketing advances and the sort at some of the top round guys. And it just prices out some of the smaller agents because I can't. It's really hard for us to give $500,000 to somebody if they blow out their knee. Like we're in trouble as an agency. So I partnered up with a guy out of Charlotte who had been doing it a long time. He was an athletic director at Charlotte Christian down there, where Steph Curry went to school. Um, and he um, he had been doing it for a while. He started off helping some retired NBA players doing endorsements and marketing and appearances and stuff like that. Bobby Jones, who played at Carolina, David Thompson from NC State. He was helping a lot of the retired guys, and then he got into helping some of the younger guys and doing football. He did a little bit of baseball too, but then he kind of streamlined to football. And football works because the numbers are just better. The NBA guys, you get you know a handful of guys first round, so 30 guys or so that have guaranteed contracts, and the rest, have to figure it out. And there's a lot of overseas, situations you have to deal with, and it is tough. And then with football, there's 7 rounds. There's a handful of undrafted guys as well. So with 53-man rosters and 90 in the offseason, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So you try to figure out the best guys, and you got to lean on relationships with scouts and just your own eye too, to try to get to know these guys and figure out who may have an opportunity. Half of the league is undrafted free agents, so
Yeah.
if you can find the right guys, you can do well.
And from what I gather in previous conversations with you, you've done a pretty good job of building up a good name later on in the draft. Again, you'll take the first rounders, but
For
building up
sure.
a good name and folks seek you out because you've had some success in the past helping those folks either get to the right camp or get the most money they can.
Sure. And we try to focus on trying to find the right situation for guys. And we certainly, the goal is to have everybody get drafted, but there's going to be some guys that don't, and then trying to find the right situation for them. It might not necessarily be the biggest signing bonus right away. That's a discussion we have, because ultimately the client, is who we work for. So we want to make sure we put them in the right situation. But there's so much prep time going up into the draft, and so many, relationships, talking to scouts to just try to figure out where's the right fit for this player. We analyze the depth charts and everything like that, and look at their history as far as undrafted free agents and stuff like that. Where is somebody gonna have the opportunity to shine and make that roster and play a long time in the NFL. And so we've done a pretty good job. And word of mouth is the best way to recruit. Anytime we do a good job for somebody, they tell their younger classmates, teammates, and a lot of times people do reach out to us.
Yeah, and those kids that are right on the draft bubble, there's 7 rounds or 6?
7 rounds.
Okay. So they're right on the draft bubble. they're
Mhm.
already anxious and nervous, and their parents are trying to figure out
Oh,
everybody's excited, but they're like, "It'd be great to get drafted." But
right.
I one of the conversations you and I had, and this had never dawned on me only because I hadn't given it much thought, but you're right, though, teams have patterns
Mhm.
of what types of free agents and when and how. I love that about you, so that kinda gives my guess is that gives some of your clients a little bit of peace of mind because you guys kinda know what to expect from some teams.
Right, and so much of the process and so much about what we try to bring to the table, because we have to try to differentiate ourselves, right? Is we're gonna try to be there to hold your hand, hold your family's hand through this process, educate you on the process, tell you what to expect, and try to put you in the best situation to succeed. Because at the end of the day, you're the one playing football, but we got to try to, do all the stuff behind the scenes to get you to where you need to be. And even if you don't make the roster, like some guys will get cut, then trying to get you back to a team to try to work out each throughout the season, teams will bring in guys to work out, each week because there are injuries and stuff like that, and just trying to keep people's names out there. And that's one reason why I partnered up with the guy that I did out of Charlotte, because he had a really good reputation in the business as far as not burning bridges, just talking with scouts and stuff, like, there's immediate respect for US sports in general. And so, of course, I'm not coming in to try to upset that reputation. We got it because at the end of the day, like if I tell a scout that a guy's going to work hard and come in and do things the right way, um, then that's going to go a long way. And if I have a guy that I say that about and goes there and doesn't do that, then it's going to make us look bad. It's going to hurt our reputation. So we have to trust the client. The client has to trust us, and then hopefully everything will work out the way it's supposed to be. But a big reason why I did what I did with the agency stuff is, I worked with the football team when I was at Carolina, and I had a lot of guys, a lot of friends that went on to play professionally. Some were really good, some were on the fringes. But even the top players, as their career kind of wound down and injuries happened, a lot of times those guys just got dropped off by their agent. And that's when they need guidance and they need advice and they need somebody there for them the most, because these guys have played football their entire life. It's kind of, for better or worse, become their identity in most cases. And once that's over and taken away from them, a lot of these guys just struggle with what can I do? They've had structure their whole life. People tell them what time to get up, what time to practice, where are you going to be at a certain time. And then when all that's taken away, like sometimes they struggle. And so like I wanted to help guys make that transition. Now, certainly as an agent and make money, we hope that that transition comes after many years in the NFL, but it's going to come at some point. We want to be there for our clients, and we kind of take pride in that. Whereas, and I get it from a business perspective, like a lot of agents will drop those guys off because hey, they're not making them money. But that I couldn't sleep well at night doing that for my clients.
And if you are representing me and it's late in the 7th round and I don't end up getting drafted, but you fielded 4 or 5 phone calls from teams who say, "Hey, if he doesn't get picked, we'd like to bring him in,"
Mhm.
and you and I settle on the team I should go to, just because I go report to the Seahawks camp doesn't mean you and I are done talking, because something could happen and I'll still need you, won't I?
Absolutely. And so, we're constantly talking about what to expect because guys don't really know. So we're explaining the process. When they get there, we want them to feel prepared. But I mean, so after the draft happens the end of April, 1st of May. After the draft, they go a couple of weeks before, they need to report. And then they're there. In fact, most of them have finished up this week, and then they'll get a break for about a month until the end of July where they go back to their training camp. But that first month or so after the draft is, they're getting ingrained into their teams and stuff like that. But there are undrafted free agents that have gotten cut already because maybe they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, when exactly what the team, was expecting, or just a variety of situations. And then if that happens, then you got to try to find another opportunity for your client. Um, so just trying to walk them through that process. Luckily, none of my guys this year have been let go or anything like that. And you hope that they get to the preseason and can kind of show what they can do in games, and they have practices versus other teams. That's a big opportunity for them to get in front of a whole new coaching staff to show what they can do. Because if they get released from their team, you want other people that are familiar with what they can bring to the table.
If you represent me, I don't get drafted, you and the Seahawks cut a deal, I go to
Mhm.
Seattle, pass the physical, I'm there for a couple days. If I've not been cut yet, am I still officially on the roster? Am I getting paid today?
Yes. So after the draft, they have their priority free agents. So they'll sign, some it varies. Some teams will sign five, some teams will sign 25 because your rosters go up to 90 men. So going into the draft, nobody's at 90. And they have to account for their draft picks and then undrafted free agencies as well. And then they'll bring in most teams, all but one, I think, had a rookie mini camp either the weekend after or 2 weeks 2 weekends after the draft wraps up. And it's just mainly rookies. There's a few guys who are younger in their career, still trying to show what they want that they asked to come. And you get all your draft picks, you get your all undrafted free agents, and then you get some tryout guys that come in because you have to field like a full squad to be able to have just these rookies there and get anything accomplished. So they'll usually keep a few slots open for some guys to come in and try out and stuff like that as well. And then after that, then they're there. They're primarily in the strength and conditioning program. They're digging into the playbook. They're guys get kind of tricked in June because a lot of these coaches are really nice and lenient and forgiving if you mess up something. And then they show back up the end of July. And I'm warning all that's what I'm actively talking about right now. You'll show back up in July and you'll think, well, what happened to this coach? We were so cool. And now he's yelling at me and cussing me out in front of my teammates. Because those coaches, yeah, you're on a time crunch then. The season's coming and you got to be ready. And their jobs are on the line. And a big part of what I do too is like, have these communications with scouts because scouts, anybody can, give a grade to a first round pick. But these scouts make their living on late round to undrafted guys. And so like if they're pounding on the table for a guy, they want to be hitting on the right people. And so there's a constant communication going on with those guys. And it's interesting. I've been doing this for a decade now. A lot of the guys who were kind of at the bottom of the totem pole in these personnel departments have kind of moved up, and so you get to know a lot of the people in the department.
Life's about relationships, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, absolutely, and that's what BNI has been great
Yep.
with.
Now, football Sunday, how do you watch a football game?
Well, it depends. I go to all the games. I try to get to all of my clients' games at some point. Now, if they're on the West Coast, I love it if they play the Panthers because I can go there. And if I got somebody on the Panthers, usually I'll try to see the visiting team guy the night before if I can. And so, like, we may like sometimes they're free for dinner or late lunch or something, and sometimes it's just, hey, let's go to the hotel, see you, hang out a little bit, and then you go your own way. But then we go to the game. After the game on Sunday, you can usually get back to the family area by the locker room and see your client and just touch base with them and make sure you get there. Sometimes I'll go during the week. It just depends. They usually have Tuesdays off, so that's always a good day to see somebody if the schedule permits. But so that's one way. You're sitting there in person and you see them. Is never a good thing if you go there and there's an injury or something like that. But and then otherwise, I'm watching like all the games. I'll have the package, and my wife gets on me because I'll have multiple TVs set up and watching all different things. I've tried to get my kids involved to come in and watch it, and I'll bribe them with snacks and stuff like that. So,
And even then, it's
call it
50-50.
football world.
It's
What's that?
50-50, right? Even
Yeah,
with the snacks, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I know
Oh yeah.
that feeling,
They'll
but
lose interest quick.
you're working, right?
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
working, so,
Yep.
speaking of your wife, Brianna,
Mhm.
I always like to ask people on the show, so how did you 2 meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
Well, yeah, there may be a few details that we don't agree on, but we met at Carolina. We both went to UNC. We both worked for the football team. I was in the equipment side of things, and she was with videography. So she was up on a lift video and practices and stuff like that. So we just got to travel with the team. We got to be friends, and then we had a couple of classes together, and we never really started dating until um, right before graduation, actually. So we were friends first, and I tease her that she always, she had her eye on me, but I think I had my eye on. I definitely outkicked my coverage with Brianna for sure.
It's funny, we tell our wives, "I know you had your eye on me." It's like, don't remember you till the second time you say we
Right.
met." So, yeah. So you have 2 kids now. Is there any doubt where they will go to college?
It's funny, my daughter just had a dance recital on Saturday, and it was at Johnston, Community College, where they had it, and my son we were walking in, and, my son was like, "Is this what all colleges are like?" I was like, "Well, you've been to Carolina, it's bigger there," and he was like, "Where do you think I'll go to college?" I was like, "Well, you know what I would say," and he goes and then he said, "Well, what if I went to Duke?" And, I was like, "Well, if you can get into Duke, you can get into Carolina, so you might as well go there."
He better be playing a high profile sport if he goes to Duke, right?
Yeah, for sure. He was teasing me
Yeah.
because he know it was funny. I mean, this goes back to how we brainwash our kids, right? And how I was brainwashed too. But I remember he was maybe 2 years old. We were in a restaurant eating, and somebody walked in with the Duke hat, and he goes, "Boo!" I was like,
Nice,
"Johnny, you can't do that, buddy.
nice.
Let's keep that to ourselves."
But he can, yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
he
for
did.
sure.
He's probably done it again since, right?
Maybe.
When back to your, NFL agent life, which is more fun, recruiting a client or negotiating for a client?
Um, I like it all. I would say the recruiting is fun. My wife might disagree because there's a lot of recruiting that happens where you don't ultimately sign
Mm.
the players. So you're like, You went away for this weekend, and nothing came of it." But you got to step back and look at the big picture, right? But I enjoy all of it, like especially the deal too. Because a lot of times I mean, hey, they get paid, we get paid, right? But it's the fruition of a lot of hard work that that client has done. Um, so, um,
I like how
it's
your wife is tracking your closing ratio.
you're right for sure. Yeah.
She probably could quote it. She'll tell everybody, "I don't know," but she probably has a good
Oh yeah.
idea, right?
It's funny, and she's a big sports fan too because we met at working for the football team, and she really likes sports, and she takes uh like preseason especially, she'll take it super serious. Like she gets mad if some of our my clients aren't getting as much playing time as she thinks that they need, or she's always staying on top of it, so it's kind of cool.
So is she scouring the internet looking for stats of your clients?
Probably. She
Nice.
definitely watches, and she's always asking and everything like that. We try to make it like a family like atmosphere. So we'll have clients over to our house. We'll have cookouts and stuff like that, and try to get to know the guys. And I mean, I have pictures when my kids were born with big old 300-pound, 6'6" guys holding them, and stuff like that. So we try to have that family. And my wife's Italian too, so it's always about family all the time.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of food anytime we get together. That's for sure.
I would imagine the players probably appreciate that too, because they may not know anybody going into a camp or,
Right.
and
Yeah.
if they come from a smaller school and there are not many players in the NFL from that school, they may not know anybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these guys' lives have changed a lot, and that's the thing, especially with late round undrafted guys. There's just so much uncertainty, and everybody in their life is all trying to figure out what's going on, what's going to happen, and all these guys have been some of the best players their whole life, and had a lot of success in college, and now it's all up in the air and it's unknown, and that's scary. So we try to help guys through that process any way that we can.
And the stuff you hear around draft time that is so, some of them are bold-faced lies, but a lot of them are poker plays,
Oh yeah,
and you must hear
teams are running
things,
all sorts of games.
and no matter what your client says, "Hey, I've been told." "No, you haven't. No, just forget this."
Yeah, and this gets back to like really leaning on scouts because you know we've I've lost a client before, like recruiting him. Like I had a guy that wanted to sign with me, And he was like, "Where do you think I'm going?" I was like, "It's probably 6th, 7th round, 5th, 6th, 7th round, or possibly undrafted, just given, what I know about your situation right now." And he says, "Well, this other agent told me I was gonna be a 2nd round pick. I signed with him,
Oh,
and he believes in me more than you do, evidently." And I'm like, "Well, look, I don't think that's gonna be the case." And so he ultimately went with the other agent, and the guy went undrafted. And not only that, he didn't even make it to a camp.
ooh,
So it's just there's a lot of agents out there that'll just sign guys and tell them what they wanna hear,
oh, yeah,
and sign as many guys as they possibly can, and then they wait for the phone to ring. We're more proactive in trying to make those calls, make sure they're on the radar, and, we're gonna work hard for our client. I'm not gonna sign a guy if I'm not prepared to really work hard for them.
yep. Who was the first client you signed?
So the very first client that I signed is actually a kid from Reedsville. It just happened that way. It was Kenzel Doe. He was a smaller player. He played for the Steelers a bit, but I actually signed quite a few guys that year. But he was the first one that actually put the pen to paper. He played at Wisconsin, and he's a great kid. So I think he was the first one that I signed.
Right. And they have to play X number of seasons or X number of games to qualify for the NFL pension.
Right. Generally speaking, the NFL has amazing benefits, and generally speaking, if you get 3 years vested in the NFL, you're gonna be pretty well set, as far as that goes with health insurance
Yeah.
and retirement benefits and everything like that. And guys the NFL will double match anything up to a certain level that they put into their retirement account, and,
Ooh,
so many guys don't even do it. Like, they don't know about it, and the agents or whoever is advising them is just not telling them about it. So we try to make sure guys, have all the understanding of their benefits and
yeah,
stuff like that. But it amazes me some of the guys that we have gotten that have come from other agents and just some of the stuff that they didn't even realize.
yeah.
I think there's a disconnect there.
Well, and that's probably why you guys have built up the reputation you have for those little things that are actually good long plays that because
Yeah.
that's not sexy in the moment, is it?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
going 2nd round or 3rd round. That no.
Yep. Yep. And we just I mean, I try to live by the mantra, just do things the right way,
Yep.
work hard, and be honest. And every single agent will tell a guy, "Hey, trust me, you can trust me," but that's just something you have to build up over time. And you just got to pour into that relationship. Same thing with the attorney world too. Like, we got to earn that trust from our clients. And there's so much overlap between working for NFL players and working for clients planning their estate or setting up their business. It's a lot of it is explaining complex legal situations and documents to a layperson and helping them understand it. And you get back to your original point about, hey, it's so easy. I can go online and make my will. But do you understand what it says? Is it
No.
accomplishing what you're, wanting to accomplish? And so much of what we do is educating. And if you're just checking out boxes, like it's probably not doing what you think it's gonna do.
All the here ases and the wheretofores and all
Right.
that good stuff is like,
Yeah,
yeah,
lawyers, we gotta stick together as a group. We gotta make things as
yeah.
complex as possible for the layperson, so they need us, right?
All right, real quick before we go, Josh, this has been a blast. What is back to estate planning
Mhm.
for all the people listening and watching? What's one thing they should do by the end of the week?
Talk to an attorney about an estate plan if you don't have one. If you have one, like, review it. And we tell everybody, like, review your estate plan every year. If you don't know what it says, or if it doesn't do what you think it's doing, like, reach out to an attorney. We can help you. We can advise you on what you have. But the big thing right now is a revocable trust. Like, you can avoid probate. You can save yourself and your heirs a lot of money by being proactive now, to stay out of probate. Avoid that on average, for a simple estate. It'll take at least a year to get through probate. And if you do a revocable trust, you can avoid probate altogether. And not only that, you can shield yourself from some creditors too. Um,
And you don't want your situation to get out of your hands and go to a judge or a jury who you have no idea how they're going to rule.
No, and who's gonna get the kids? You
Yeah.
may have, different ideas about what's gonna happen to your minor kids, and you don't want the state to decide.
No.
Uh, and not only that, but there's just a lot that goes into it, and a lot of things you can kind of protect. And if you die without a will right now, and you have minor kids, they're not going to be able to get much. There's going to be a lot of hoops that somebody has to jump through just to provide for them with that inheritance. And then once they turn 18, they're gonna get everything. And I have 2 minor kids. I have an 11-year-old and 8-year-old. I know that when they turn 18, if they got a significant amount of money, it might not last a long
Mm.
time.
I think
So,
that's
we
true
can
for
put
all of us.
for sure. I know if I was given it at
Yeah.
18, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be sitting here as an attorney right now. Who knows
But
what would
but
have.
that car you bought with it would have been
Oh,
sweet,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah. But, we can delay that to, like,
Yeah.
25 or something like that, and, but also provide for them for whatever they need, up until that time to make their life comfortable, but not where they can
Yep.
blow through all their inheritance. So,
No, and
it's
we
very
yep.
important. There's a lot of different things, and you just need to talk to an attorney about it.
Yep. And we appreciate all the good tips today, Josh. Folks, we've been putting Josh's phone number on the screen during the show. If you have any questions, please give him a call. He'll help you. But there's some things you have to do, and this is one of them. Just to protect your loved ones. If you do it for that's the reason you should do it. But if you do it for no other reason than that, please take care of them with the stuff you have that should go to them. So Josh enjoyed it very much. Good luck. I think you said you go to the no, the combine's done. When's the combine coming up?
Combine's end of February, 1st of March. Right now, it's trying to talk to college kids
Okay.
before their season starts. Maybe meeting with their family. A lot of recruiting happens in the summer. I love training camp gets here in
Yep.
August because everybody's locked away, and I can kind of go to the beach and kind of catch my breath a little bit.
There you go.
And then yeah,
And
so
so if
it's a fun process, but I enjoy it.
well, good. And if anybody knows an up and coming football star
Yes,
that needs to land in the hands of a very good agent, you've got Josh's phone number on the screen. Josh, we appreciate it very much. Good luck with your players through the summer and making a good roster and hopefully getting that 3 years so they can get that nice pension.
absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Enjoyed it.
You bet. And we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.